Oh yeah! Welcome back to another episode of Drafts with Jordan and Josh. I am your host, Jordan Plocker, at PFF_Jordan. With me normally would be at PFF_Josh, Mr. Josh Liskowitz, but Josh is nowhere to be found. Theories abound as where Josh is. He could be possibly joining the circus, possibly playing cricket in India, or more likely with his family at Disney World. So Josh is not here today, you guys. You guys just have me, but you are lucky because I brought in the big dog as far as our quarterbacks go. As you guys know, we've been talking about quarterbacks for the last 5 episodes. So we brought in our QB expert here at PFF, Mr. Zac Robinson, former NFL quarterback and current PFF analyst and also quarterback coach. Welcome, Mr. Robinson. Thank you for having some draft time with us.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, Jordan. Fired up to talk some QBs here. We're in the dog days of summer, man. I don't know about you, just dying for any type of football information out there.
Oh, I know. Tis the season again. Like as you know, with the NFL background, I mean the NFL front offices just sort of empty out at this time of year, and I guess we're no different here at PFF. This is vacation time, so
right.
Josh is Disneying it up. Yeah, I'm stuck here in 120-degree heat in Phoenix today. I don't know how bad it is where you are.
Oof. Yeah, we're about the same. Dallas has got the humidity all the way cranked up. You got to find a pool somewhere.
I can't deal with that humidity. I was at Texans camp this summer with Vinny Ronca, and I was like, I said, is it always this humid? And he was like, this is nothing. And I was like, oh, it's disgusting. You can't escape that heat.
Yeah, the worst is you get a center when you're in the middle of camp. It's the middle of August. You get a center that's just sweating buckets out there. You put your hands underneath the center, and the ball is completely soaked. You got no chance to complete any kind of pass. That was the daily struggles of a QB in the middle of camp in the heat there.
That's so gross. Thanks for sharing, Zach. Hopefully no one was listening to the show on their lunch break. But right. Yeah, we're getting to that point where we'll be headed to the dog days of training camp shortly. So far on the show, Zach, Josh, and I have been going over the top quarterbacks for this upcoming season. We're just kind of like sort of introducing them to our listeners. Some of these don't have time to sort of research all these people on their own. So we're just trying to give as much information to everybody out there as we can. It's just sort of hitting on what these guys do well and also what we'd like to see them improve upon, this year, because they had this whole year to really improve upon all these little things that maybe we're nitpicking on, that we've seen in the past. But again, Josh and I have kind of gone over all these guys. We want to bring Zach on here as a better set of eyes, as a third set of eyes to sort of come on and share with you guys what he saw about each of these top guys. So I'm really excited. Like I said, Zach does some quarterback coaching. He's worked with quarterbacks who've been drafted last year, will be drafted this year. So, he's in the know, sees things a lot differently than Josh and I do, especially from a technical standpoint and, from an after the snap standpoint, things like that. So it's always great to get his input. And then Zach, you do the big time Throwcast with Steve, right?
That's right. Yeah, me and Big Tree over there have been doing the big time Throwcast for I guess it'll be kind of started at the beginning of last season, going basically QB by QB each week, different type of breakdowns. We get into some more schematic type breakdowns with those. So if you guys get a chance, right now. We're just going through each quarterback on all 32 teams right now, just guy by guy, strengths, weaknesses, what to expect next season. So, if you guys get a chance, pop on over there.
Yeah, definitely check those out. And like I said, I'm just glad that we got to steal you from Steve for a little bit to, like I said, take a look at these college guys. So I think we should start, Zach, where we started with the show as far as the quarterbacks go is with Sam Darnold, because there's just so much talk about Sam Darnold being QB1 around the country. And I was PFF's Pac-12 analyst last year, so I got to watch him, closely, sort of watch him emerge. And I can tell you, just from what I saw this big athletic kid who played really calm under pressure, but just I thought that he really sort of elevated the play of everybody around him and really sort of saved USC's season and really sort of actually kind of even turned them into sort of a national powerhouse again when it wasn't really quite looking that way. What sort of stood out to you, Zach, about Sam Darnold on tape?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It seemed like he, from the minute he started playing, man, that entire team just played a different way, had a different mentality about him throughout the whole season. Obviously ended up with that Penn State game, one of the best games of the year, and one of the most clutch performances down the stretch that you saw from a QB. But just the things that stick out, I think, are just the lightning quick processing speed, incredibly quick-minded, almost looks a little Drew Brees-ish in that regard, an ability to move from one guy to the next. You mentioned the athleticism; it's really good, and then just the instincts, ability to react, feel for the game, vision, all those things, compile into one. And he's a phenomenal player, and still developing. We'll get into his mechanics here shortly, but overall, you look at everything on the surface, and he's got everything to be a true franchise QB.
Yeah, the thing that that stood out to me the most, because it's pretty easy to see the guys that have his sort of size and and athleticism, but again, like his calmness under pressure, like no situation ever seemed like it was too big for Sam Darnold, even in his first year as a starter, which was pretty impressive. And then
right.
when we talk about his performance in the Rose Bowl and that clutch throw that he made in the middle of the field between like three defenders. Again, like to see a throw like that was one of the best throws of the year, and especially in a clutch situation, and then especially for a first-year starter. So really, really impressive like that. And then we look at the numbers, and he's got the 67.6 adjusted completion percentage under pressure, ties him at number one among returning quarterbacks with Baker Mayfield. So he's, again, it was really impressive to see a guy with that sort of NFL size and arm strength and ability, but still have that sort of NFL, blood pressure in the pocket that you need, that coolness under pressure. Again, it was really, really impressive to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he has a very good just overall poise to his game. Things can move pretty fast in the pocket for being a true pocket guy like he is, whether it's reads or having to react to a, pressure on the interior, whatever it is. He can look a little almost jumpy with his feet, but still pretty quiet with his mind throughout the whole thing. So he stays accurate when things are moving fast. Like you just said, his accuracy numbers are really good. Just kind of needs some refinement with everything, but just the natural ability to play the position is definitely there.
Yeah, again, and like the things that sort of stood out to me were like some of the stuff that's happening from the neck up. I mean, I thought he had a really firm handle of situational football. When we go back to that, that play against, Penn State, he just made that huge touchdown pass, and he really calmly just sort of looked to the sideline to see if they're going for one or two. He was just, again, right. He never got excited and was pumping and running down there and high-fiving everybody. He just calmly went about his business, like an assassin. So it was really interesting to see. Again, there's a lot to like about him. But, I did have some concerns. One of those concerns would be that sort of like from a ball security standpoint, I thought that he carried the ball a little too low and a little too loose. But the other thing that I had my bigger concern, and I'm glad you're here to talk about it, was that I thought that he's got sort of an elongated throwing motion, that sort of takes, I imagine it has to take a little bit longer for that to get around, and wouldn't that sort of, give DBs a little bit of extra time to break on his passes? Do you think it's a concern?
Yeah, the more you watch it, I think that it is definitely a slightly loopy, but it's still quick enough. And I think that it's going to continue to get quicker and quicker as he gets older and more mature and stronger and all those things. I think it'll continue to tighten up. But if you're looking at it right now, it's still quick enough. There is that loop where the ball drops just a little bit below the elbow, kind of coming up. But I don't see it as a big of an issue as maybe some others see it, because that ball, he's still got great arm speed. There's still some quickness with the ball in his hand that it is coming out. But I expect it to. That's kind of a not all the way fixable, but it can definitely be tightened up. And I think, over time here, the next couple of years, whether he comes out this year or next, I think it'll be significantly better than what maybe it showed at times last year.
Yeah, because I watched him in the spring game, and it's still there. So it's still, a concern, at least going into this season. Is this something that, like, he needs to, spend time with a quarterback coach in the offseason to work on and to change and tighten up?
Yeah, I'm sure he does spend. I'm not sure who he works with, and I'm sure that is definitely an emphasis. You never want to mess too much with what you're doing on the throwing arm. There's other parts that you want to try to tighten up, but anytime you start talking too much about the throwing arm, and you could end up guys becoming mental head cases and thinking about it so much, and they're not just reacting and using their natural ability to play. So some other things that you can do to tighten it up to help the back arm and the throwing arm, but I'm sure it's an emphasis, and be interesting to see just how much it will improve throughout the next couple of years.
Yeah, that will definitely be, what I will definitely be trying to keep an eye on. And it's interesting to hear your take that you don't think that it's, necessarily a concern right now. Because my thought was, is it fast enough? Because I know it's going to be a little bit longer, but is it fast enough? And I guess right now, like you said, it probably is fast enough. And probably can get faster. So again, that to me is sort of the biggest concern about him, because otherwise physically, NFL caliber, NFL ready. Mentally, I think he's, there's a lot of next level stuff happening there. So again, a really talented prospect. Again, we'd like to see a little bit of some of that cleaned up, but a lot to like there. And then, definitely going to be going high in the draft.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that you can see in terms of it quickening it up is when there's guys around his feet and he's forced to tighten everything up and get the ball out, it is tighter and it does come out. And that's, as you know, we watch so many games that those pockets are incredibly tight. There's not a whole lot of space to really step in and throw. And so I think that actually at times helps him when he's throwing from a tighter pocket.
That's interesting. Now, that's sort of like, we'll mentioning clean pockets, we'll transition to a guy who didn't really have many clean pockets last year, and that's his crosstown rival, Josh Rosen. Now, Josh Rosen is a player that, like, when Josh Liskowitz and I, watched Rosen, we really liked him. Again, was the guy that we thought, we really liked his mechanics, thought we had a really nice, tight, delivery mechanics. Really, really liked as far as his lower body mechanics, because he had so much operating under center and taking his drops from under center last year under Kennedy Palomalu's offense. So again, we thought from the waist down, he was probably more pro ready than a lot of these guys out there. But again, a lot to like about Rosen's game, not only from an arm talent standpoint, but again, from a lower body standpoint and his, sort of crispness in that area. I don't think that he's going to have a huge, development learning curve in the NFL. Again, a lot to like about him, but he didn't get a whole lot of help from his supporting cast. We'll get into that in a little bit. But what did you see about Josh Rosen, Zach?
Yeah, I think I still go back to that very first game he played as a true freshman. And, he just jumped off the table as a guy like Andrew Luck, or when you saw Jameis Winston for the first time. The guy you just see him play and you're like, he has it. He looks like an NFL quarterback. And it was pretty incredible to see him in his first game as a true freshman already have that look to him. He's the most sound guy I think I've seen in a while in terms of his fundamentals. You mentioned his footwork, throwing on balance. I think he used to play tennis growing up, so plays with a great base. I'm sure playing tennis, all those years, you learn to play with base and you learn to play on different platforms and moving your body different ways. So then you mentioned his arm, very pure thrower. Doesn't have exact howitzer, but plenty strong. Has touch, can throw up and over guys with pace. Really checks all the boxes when you're looking at it.
No, I totally agree. But when you look at his numbers don't really show that. And that was one thing where when you look at the film, he was really, like I said, not getting too much help from his supporting cast. He had, just a large number of drops by wide receivers, just, on beautifully placed balls, sometimes in even key game situations. So it was just terrible to see, him going through all this work to get the ball to these receivers and it just gets dropped, and then, or he was, just pressured an obscene amount. He was one of the most pressured quarterbacks, in FBS. He was probably for the first 6 weeks last year, he was pressured on 38.6% of his dropbacks. So, again, just not getting any help from his pass catchers. There's just guys quitting on routes, running wrong routes, dropping balls, and then you see, again, just so much pressure on him. It was just, it was stifling to sort of watch it again. And I think that sort of led to some of his poor numbers as far last year. Don't you think, Zach?
Yeah, I agree. You look at just all those things you mentioned combined. It led to maybe him losing some confidence in some guys around him, confidence in the offensive line, which ultimately led to him losing confidence in himself and with a few poor decisions from time to time or more than you would like to see. But, there were some mental lapses in terms of seeing coverage at times. But how much does that, fall back on just all those things combined? I guess we're going to have to just see how much that improves this season. But I'm expecting him to have a huge year. The guy's got every tool you need. Sees the game very, very well, incredible instincts and feel in the pocket, just cutting his losses at times when he's extending the play and making some of those poor decisions kind of late in the down or something that I'm looking forward to seeing if he kind of improves upon. I think he will this season.
No, I totally agree. I think he's going to have a sort of a bounce back year from a number standpoint. Like you said, all the tools are there. He looked really accurate in their spring game. So I think it's going to be a good year for Rosen. And again, it's one of the better, more prepared, NFL caliber quarterback prospects in this class. Hopefully, again, he just has a sort of a better bounce back year next year.
Yeah.
Now
they got a new offensive coordinator coming in, Jed Fish, longtime NFL guy, coming from Michigan. So he's got great coaching around him. He's going to be running some pro style systems. Hopefully, utilize play action and get some of those things going because the guy can absolutely spin it down the field. So looking forward to seeing just how different that looks from last year to this coming season.
Totally. So now moving on we're going to stay out west and we're going to get to an intriguing prospect, Josh Allen from Wyoming. And this is a guy who's probably got some of the best size and athleticism of any of the quarterback prospects. Really likes to push the ball downfield, an aggressive passer. He had the highest percentage of air yards in the nation last year at 72%. So he's not an old dink and dunk passer. So again, sort of a big, strong, aggressive kid. What did you like about Josh Allen on tape, Zach?
Yeah, no, I think aggressiveness is the first word that comes to mind, man. He's very, very confident in his arm and his ability. His arm strength, I'm not sure about you. I don't know if I've ever seen the ball jump out of the hand like it does on this guy when he's throwing comebacks or some of these throws on the move. You mentioned some of the top guys in the NFL in terms of arm strength wise, and I think he actually surpasses all of those guys where he's at right now. But, there's a lot to like with just his overall physical skills. But man, there's also a lot to clean up there.
Oh yeah, as you guys have the big time Throwcast, and Steve Palazzolo always likes to sort of highlight, these big time throws, in our grading system, and Josh Allen was definitely full of them last year, but he's also full of, turnover worthy throws and negatively graded throws, and he actually had the 32nd highest percentage of negatively graded throws last year. So again, it's sort of like feast or famine with this guy. Yeah, it totally is. So it's, again, he's got, all the physical tools, but, when we even look at his accuracy, his adjusted completion percentage is 67.0, which sounds good, but when you think about it, it only ranks number 45 among returning FBS quarterbacks. So, to me, that's a little concerning, don't you think? The accuracy for me hasn't been there where it should be with a lot of these other, top prospects.
Absolutely. No, I agree. There needs to be some more precision to his game. He's very much just a fastball thrower. Everything he sees, he wants to just rip it right in there. He's got to get better in quick game and pre-snap reads. I think that's going to help him out a ton, and that'll help out those adjusted accuracy numbers that you just threw out there. I think that was a big thing just watching, is just playing more in rhythm, playing in structure, and then letting everything else happen outside the structure when it needs to, because he sees the game really, really well outside and on the move. It's incredible, some of the throws that he not only can he make, but the ones that he sees as well is just it's just you don't know how he sees it, but then you want to see him see the game the same way when he's inside the pocket. And I think that's he's a young player still, so definitely looking forward to seeing if that's something he can improve on.
No, I totally agree. Because you mentioned like his talent on the move is rare, and again, he's just something that we need to clean up some of that stuff that's taking place inside the pocket. And again, with another year of experience under his belt, you should be able to do that. I'm glad that he didn't come out early. I agree. I don't know, what I know each situation is different with kids, and I'm not going to, I don't know what your, thought about it is about Zach, but my general thought process is with quarterbacks, they should try to stay if they can. If the situation, allows it, that, staying and getting those extra game reps, and leaving to go to the NFL more prepared, to me just seems like a better situation than leaving as soon as you can.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I look back at Andrew Luck, and even though he did come out a year early, everybody was pushing for him to come out even earlier than that, just like would have been the same age as Josh Allen or Sam Darnold, I guess, heading into next season. But I'm with you. Another year of college experience. You get to – college football is so fun. You're playing with your buddies, and the NFL, it's going to be there, and you can get to the business world of the NFL there soon. Enjoy college, stick around, sling it around, and shoot, they should have a pretty solid team this year, so hopefully they can make a little run.
Totally agree. And that sort of smoothly transitions us into the next quarterback, because I think their situations are very similar, and that's Lamar Jackson from Louisville. He's a guy who, again, as we just touched on with Allen, we're really excited to see how he develops as a passer this year, because the physical tools are, rare, are video game-esque, and he's shown some really positive things as a passer. He had a 114.8 QB rating when not under pressure, which ranks number 7 among returning FBS quarterbacks. He's got, I think, one of the fastest releases out of any quarterback, in this draft class. He's got, the necessary arm strength. He can throw with touch. So just not even mentioning his elite athleticism and the things that he can do when he scrambles. Again, I like the quick trigger on his release, even though he's not a big kid at all. But again, there's a lot to like about him, and really excited to see what he can do and develop this year. What do you want to see from Lamar Jackson this year, Zach?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it looks like a Nerf ball when he has the ball in his hands. He is, like you said, video game. Man, that guy is playing. I'm convinced he's playing with like a smaller football or something, because the whip and the torque and everything he can generate throwing the ball is incredible. It's very Michael Vick-like with the whip and quickness of the arm. Like you said, the quick release is great. But yeah, I think, overall, just accuracy. You want to see him just be a little bit more precise with his ball placement on the short to intermediate stuff. I think he's got incredible football instincts, some of the best I think I've ever seen. And then you combine that, and I think he gets knocked on it some, but I do think he's a good processor. He can see the field pretty clearly and move from 1 to 2 to 3. He's getting some great coaching, obviously, there with Petrino and learning pro-type schemes and coverages and those things. So if there's a place to be at, he's in a great spot. I think the accuracy stuff can come down to his feet a little bit. He doesn't play with a very wide base, very, very kind of narrow and close together, which can lead to some inaccuracies and some overthrows.
Yeah, because he's not a really big kid. Kind of got that sort of skinny, almost like a wide receiver frame. Right. Not a very stocky guy at all. So I'd sort of like to see him. I don't know how. Do you want him to put on weight? I don't know. You would from I guess from a durability standpoint of taking hits in the pocket or taking hits on runs. But I don't know if added weight is going to impact his special athleticism.
Yeah. I think he can hold. He looks like he can hold at least 15 more pounds on the frame there. I'm not sure what he's listed at, but it's got to be, close to about 200 pounds or so. But if he can play at 210, 215-ish, and with his height, he's got a good solid, frame to him to work into. But a lot of interesting things to see with him just, in terms of how he's going to progress as a passer. Because if he could take the next step from what he showed last year to this year, we could have, arguably the top guy in the draft.
No, I totally agree. And we try not to make the unfair comparisons to Mike Vick. And I'm not, saying he's going to have that same type of, of quality career. But again, like when we mentioned the rare speed and open for running ability, the only person that I could think of, from that position would be Mike Vick or Randall Cunningham. And then when you mentioned also, his that really quick whip release and things like that. So again, from that aspect, he reminds me of Vic a lot as well. So again, I would love to see, some more, again, just sort of development as far as what he can do from the pocket. I guess you mentioned his scheme, hopefully we'll be, asking him to do that sort of thing, and we'll see him, get more comfortable and be willing to stay back there and get a little bit deeper into the play. But, again, just an incredibly exciting player to watch. And like you said, Zach, I mean, if he can take the next step as far as development in the pocket, he could easily be, the best prospect in this class and, in a lock for to be a really, really high draft pick just because of his rare ability.
I'm with you. I think, maybe this is saying too much, but I think his overall ability is greater than Michael Vick's. I don't know. I just, in terms of his elusiveness, within the pocket, I think he maybe processes and sees stuff right on par right now, as well as Michael Vick did throughout his career. So we didn't mention the deep ball stuff. The deep ball stuff's great. There's so much things you can do with his arm just because there's so much strength on it. I like to see how far this guy can throw the football. It's got to be close to 80-something yards because it is a flick of the wrist, and some of those post routes and goes. It looks like he's putting very, very little effort, and those things are traveling quite a ways.
Yeah, he's like you said, he's really exciting to watch, and he, I mean, we don't necessarily know that he's going to come out in the draft, but he will be draft eligible, but still an underclassman, so he could stay another year beyond this one and continue to develop, physically and as a passer. But we'll know more after this season. But again, it's just a really incredibly exciting player to watch. Obviously, as the nation knows, and really, you, the listener, try to keep an eye on his, development as a passer, and really, try to see if he looks like he's, progressing a little bit further and a little bit, better and faster and smoother than he was last year. Again, but just a very exciting player, and really looking forward to see what he does this year. The next player I want to move on to is another, sort of athletic playmaker. I mean, not at the same level, obviously, as Lamar Jackson, but it's Oklahoma's Baker Mayfield. Again, is sort of an undersized but athletic playmaking quarterback. Can extend plays, highly accurate. Is 67.6 adjusted completion percentage. Under pressure, like I said, he tied him number one with Sam Darnold, but is even not under pressure. His adjusted completion percentage of 79.8 ranks number one among FBS quarterbacks. So he's accurate, Zach. When he's under pressure, he's accurate. When he's not under pressure, tell me what you like about Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, just the ball placement when you watch him play is pretty incredible. I mean, whether he's throwing from different type of platforms, whether he's in the pocket, the guy has ability to hit guys on the move and stay accurate at all levels. And one thing that sticks out is his deep ball. I think last year, deep passing wise, he was our top guy with 20 plus throws. Actually, second in terms of NFL quarterback rating, but he's got a ton of ability. He's obviously a little shorter in stature and those things that people are going to knock him. But I really like his arm. I think, his ability to extend the play and make all those throws that we've seen when we saw him, light up Texas Tech and throw the ball however many times he threw the ball that game with Mahomes on the other side. But I'm not sure when he's going to get a chance to start an NFL game, if that's going to be early on or maybe a couple years, but when he gets a chance, I would not bet against this guy. He's always been kind of a gritty playmaker, and just a really solid player.
Yeah, he's definitely fun to watch, like I said, because he has that sort of, foot quickness and playmaking ability to evade rushers and extend plays, but then again with that accuracy, just highly accurate. So, he's sort of a big play waiting to happen. And that's it's a fun offense to watch. Again, he just he operates well under pressure, and nothing's ever seemed too big for him as well. Kind of like Sam Darnold. But Baker just seems to have a bit more of a, I don't know, I guess of a little scrambling playmaking ability to him than Darnold does. My concerns about him, or at least one of them, when we talk about, shorter quarterbacks, and my concern with him, and I don't know if it was a concern for you at all, Zach, but he seemed to have like a really sort of wide base in his throwing stance, and I thought that sort of made him shorter. When he was throwing, sort of made him shorter in the pocket rather than like a Drew Brees who gets taller in the pocket because he's sort of up on his tippy toes. Do you have any concerns about his height like that at all?
Not as much. It is pretty wide, and it's definitely outside the framework of his shoulders, and could maybe tighten down a little bit. But I think he's just an athletic player. That's kind of his natural stance and where he's comfortable moving from, but he develops a lot of torque, with his core and those things from that power position, kind of like a wide stance, batter in the batter's box. But I'm curious to see just him develop this year. He's always had, obviously, they had those two running backs with Pirine and Mixon. D.D. Westbrook. Now it's truly going to be his show to run and really see what he can do, when teams are just strictly, game planning for him.
No, you hit the nail right on the head with him. I mean, he definitely lost some serious talent to the next level. So now it's, how can he elevate his play? How can he elevate the play of those around him to sort of make up for that? And like you said, it's going to be more, all eyes on him and what he can do this year for that offense as far as, elevating it with that loss of talent. But again, like super talented player. Again, I know it's something that you really like to watch play. Probably a serious Heisman contender, I would think. And as well, that also that brings us to our next quarterback in right cross state rival there, Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State. I don't know if you know much about Oklahoma State, Zach, but it's produced some decent quarterbacks in the past. Mason Rudolph is the latest version of that. Again, some people really, really like him. Some people at PFF really, really like this guy. We have at least, I would say, 2 to 3 analysts who have Rudolph as QB1. So there's a lot of people who like Rudolph. Plays in a high-powered offense. Phenomenal deep passing quarterback. Is 13 touchdowns and 2 interceptions and a 125.7 QB rating on deep passes last year, which ranks number 2 among returning FBS quarterbacks. I really like his delivery mechanics. I mean, he can throw well to all 3 levels. He's got one of the best wide receivers and deep threats in the country in James Washington this year, so there's going to be plenty of fireworks there. Adjusted completion percentage of 71.5, ranks number 28 among returning FBS quarterbacks, so it's up there. Not as high as someone like a Baker Mayfield, but still up there and good. Again, a lot to like about Mason Rudolph, and he'll be one of the top guys to watch this year, especially in that offense. What do you like about Mason, Zach?
Yeah, Mason's, he's a guy that I've actually gotten to know quite well over the past few years. I work with him in the off seasons, but a ton of ability. Like you mentioned, the deep ball stuff, that's just kind of an innate trait that he has. I watched the practice there a few years ago during camp, and he's just got an ability to drop those things in the bucket on a post, goes, all those things. You see, it happen at least 1 or 2 times a game, sometimes 4, 5, 6 times, where they're really chucking it down the field, spreading it all over the place. But overall, good feel for the game. For his size, he's got some serious nimbleness in the pocket to move around and extend plays. I think that kind of goes unnoticed at times just because he is such a big guy, and you think of him as a sturdy pocket passer, but can really play on the move and extend the plays. But efficient with footwork, movements, everything, processes the game. Definitely ticks the boxes in a lot of good areas.
No, totally agree. And he's, again, I think going to have a really, really big year in that offense. And
Huge.
I mean, from a statistical standpoint, I mean, we're all going to be talking about, Mason Rudolph, in the spring, and the monster year that he had. Like I said, he should be in Heisman contention. Again, James Washington is going to rack up nasty monster numbers. So there'll be a really fun team to watch. One of the things that I just want to see, there's some sort of inconsistencies with some of the ball placement, from Rudolph. And so that's something that I would like to see, hopefully get, cleaned up a little bit as he goes into his senior year here. So, excited to see him get these extra reps, and then I honestly think that Mason Rudolph will be a guy that, I end up seeing practice at the Senior Bowl in January. So, again, he's going to have a long, fruitful, productive season this year. Again, just want to see him sort of clean up some of the inconsistencies with some of the ball placement. And then that's about all that I'd like to see from Mason. Again, there's a lot to like there. Any final thoughts on Mason, Zach?
Yeah, no, you're right. They're going to be so explosive on offense, man. They got Marcel Aitman coming back from injury at receiver as well, and then an LSU transfer, Tyron Johnson, who's going to light it up for them. So they've got a ton of guys to throw to. The Big 12, as we know, the statistics will be out of this world in some of the scores of the games. But he's going to have a great chance to have a good senior year, go into a Senior Bowl and really attack the process and be kind of one of those guys that elevates himself into some early consideration. But everything's there, and like you said, just cleaning up a couple things here and there, and I think he's definitely destined for a monster year.
Nice. Are you going to try to make it back to Oklahoma State for a game this year?
I try to get back to at least one or two. Went to the Texas Tech game last year and saw Mahomes and Mason battle it out. That was an incredible game. So I like to try to get back to one, man. Getting back to Stillwater, Oklahoma, Stillwater, America is never that easy to do, but it's always a blast to go back because those games are a ton of fun.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, but it's not like there's an international airport there. So I imagine, it's probably not super easy to get in and out of.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so I want to transition then to one of the other top, returning quarterbacks, the top seniors, and I think a guy that we'll see at the Senior Bowl as well, and that's Luke Falk from Washington State. He, much like Rudolph, is going to be putting up disgusting numbers this season in that sort of Mike Leach pass-happy offense. We've had ridiculous numbers the last couple of years. His adjusted completion percentage at 78.0 ranks number 4 among returning FBS quarterbacks. Again, and not necessarily a guy who's just throwing dinks and dunks. I mean, there are some things like that in the offense, but he's also willing to push the ball down the field. Plays well under pressure. Again, his deep passing is also up there. His 45.2 adjusted completion percentage on deep passes ranks number 11. So, I mean, this guy's got numbers all the way up there. He's just been, throwing the ball all over the place in that offense. Exciting player to watch. You can see throw with touch. You can watch him sort of, cycle through progressions in the pocket, make nice layered throws. Again, there's a lot to like about him. What did you like about Luke Falk on tape, Zach?
No, I think he nailed it pretty much right there. Guy plays with just a ton of poise in the pocket, very efficient and quick release, natural whip arm. Plays in that wide open system, but that system still requires you to process and read things out. It's not like they're cutting the field down in half each time for you and you're reading one guy. He is making pure progressions throughout that offense. I think, the biggest thing is, does he have enough strength, when bodies are around him to make throws? Because I think that basically is a big separator in the NFL in the tight pockets. Do you have enough arm power and strength to keep the ball up on the receiver's face mask, in those times? And so I'm looking forward to seeing if he's made some strides in that area. But, man, if you want to watch a just display of touch, and you're saying deep ball stuff, the Colorado game from last year, he drops some balls in the bucket there that are pretty incredible. So a lot to like overall with his touch and able to put the ball where he wants to down the field.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you mentioned that Colorado game, and there was just, some disgusting throws. I screamed out loud more than once watching some of those throws in that game. I mean, Falk doesn't, I mean, he's got the requisite NFL size, but like you mentioned, it's his arm strength isn't, it's not a plus arm at all. It's, it would be average, probably an average arm. So you said that'll be interesting to see if that develops. How much do you think that a quarterback can really sort of improve upon his arm strength from his junior to senior year? I mean, is that something that they can do how do you even do that other than just throwing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just, comes with just how efficiently you're moving your body. And a lot of it is just, sheer core strength. And a lot of guys are not using their lower body and their back hip really to fire through and get in there. I think that ends up being a huge separator is just, how well you can kind of use everything you've got together. He's got a great, upper body wise motion, and he's tight and everything's quick. And so it's just a matter of tying the lower body and the upper body together to just create a little bit more torque. And I think, I think that you can improve upon it. I think it more so happens with age, not necessarily a 1 year gap, but I think as he's gets stronger and gets a little bit older and kind of matures a little bit more, that we'll see that jump up just a little bit.
Okay, all right. Thanks for sharing that. Because I mean, I'm not a QB coach or a QB, so sometimes as an analyst, we'll toss things out there like, oh yeah, his arm strength should improve this year, and so I just kind of wanted to get that sort of background take on it. Thank you. So for that will be one of the concerns about him will be that sort of lack of plus arm strength. Like you mentioned, he can still throw with touch and layered throws. The other concern will be that air raid offense, like you mentioned. I mean, he is reading coverages and things like that, but it is still very spread out. He's operating with the line with those huge wide splits. The whole sort of thing is just geared towards the pass. Like I said, he's going to put up ridiculous numbers. He's going to be really fun to watch. Again, I think he's going to be one of the top seniors and be at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. So like I said, it's going to be fun to watch guys like Falk and Mason Rudolph in that situation in Mobile when they're sitting there, getting yelled at by NFL coaches and dealing with that whole situation. But again, Falk could be one of the top guys this year. I think as far as number-wise goes, and like I said, we'll see if he can improve on that arm strength issue. But again, from the neck up, I thought he was sort of operating at a level that some of these other quarterbacks weren't. And so he's sort of fun to watch from that aspect.
I agree. Yeah, there's a very calmness to his game. You can see it a lot of times. A lot of times you can see it when a guy's just doing something as simple as checking a ball down and how fast their kind of mind is moving. Is the game moving fast around them, and then they're inaccurate. And with that guy, man, he is a cool customer. Checks it down and keeps moving on. So ton to like with him, and we'll just see if he can progress in some of those areas. But man, you keep mentioning the Senior Bowl. There's going to be some guys there that really the potential of this class, depending on who comes out. But there are a lot of guys to like that, whether they're true franchise guys or kind of more in that second tier, backup with potential to be a starter. There are some really, really good players here.
No, I totally agree. And people always sort of jokingly say, "Oh, wait till next year's quarterback class." Well, I mean, this quarterback class is good. I mean, it is like, I mean, we're sitting here talking about, like 8 different quarterbacks.
Right.
This isn't some.
And we're not reaching on any of these guys either. These guys can all play. They all got different styles to their game, but. I'm with you. There's a bunch of good guys.
Right. So we'll get to the last guy here that we're going to discuss. And this was a guy that Josh and I talked about on the last episode, and a guy who kind of caught us by surprise. And that's Mike White from Western Kentucky. He was a guy that I was just sort of like putting on the film. I was watching like one of those sort of mass film sessions where you're watching guy after guy after guy, and I put Mike White on and just was instantly impressed by one of the throws where he just took a huge monster shot standing in the pocket and still able to deliver a ball downfield, and we're just like, wow, and really admired his courage and willingness to stand in the pocket and take a hit. And you're looking at his numbers last year, they were ridiculous. I mean, he 22 touchdowns on deep passes, ranks number 1 among returning FBS quarterbacks. His deep passing adjusted completion percentage of 60.5 ranks number 1 among returning FBS. I mean, it's ridiculous. His adjusted completion percentage is 78.2, ranks number 2 among returning quarterbacks. So his numbers, Zach, I mean, they're really saying that he's one of the top guys in the country.
Yeah, no, they run that wide open system that we've seen, and much like the kind of Texas Tech, it's a different style, but they're not cutting the reads for the quarterback. He's still operating in some true pure progressions, but this guy he's new to me. I'll admit the first time I really saw him was earlier today. I haven't really been brought to his attention here. He hasn't been brought to my attention here, but I was really impressed. Just a great release, really natural whip, former baseball player, pitcher. So there's a lot to like there, just in terms of his overall ability and arm talent. I guess you said he stood in there and makes throws under pressure and with guys barreling down. You saw that happen multiple times in just a short amount of time of watching film. So definitely a guy to keep your eye on as far as a guy that can really move up throughout this season.
Yeah, and he's a guy that I think that, again, as you mentioned, that offense, I think he's going to put up, he's going to be another one who puts up ridiculous numbers and will be up there, with the top guys in the country as far as, just from a pure statistical standpoint. And again, I think he's another guy that we're probably going to end up seeing at the Senior Bowl just because he looks like a guy with a lot of NFL, caliber ability and skills. And so I think he's going to be someone that we're going to see down there, again, milling around with the NFL coaches. So that'll be fun to watch. He was, again, very productive. I did have some concerns, about him as far as I thought his accuracy tended to wane when he was moving to either side, and so that was a concern. And then, I also had one concern that I looked on tape, or at least looked in his numbers that we have. He had 12 batted passes last year, which is, a concern. Did you notice anything that you thought was, a bit concerning or that you'd like to see him sort of work on this year, his senior season?
Yeah, I think really the touch underneath on some shallow crosses and red zone fades were kind of something that stood up to me. Just keeping those guys on the move on shallow crosses and showing a little bit more touch on those. He's got such a powerful arm that sometimes it lacks a little bit. But overall, I think the biggest concern, I guess when you look at him as a player, is just the lack of athleticism. I think his ability to extend plays is going to need to show up more and more. He definitely plays great when he's in rhythm and feeling the pocket and making throws like that up and down the field. But you just want to see a few more plays where he's extending the play and making plays with his arm, because you look around at the guys in the NFL, the guys that are extending the play are the ones that are the best players at that position. So if he can really, work on that to a certain extent, he's got great instincts to do it. Just definitely needs to show up a little bit more.
No, I totally agree. But it's this, like you said, this is a strong crop of quarterbacks as far as the draft class goes, and then a strong crop of senior quarterbacks. It's going to be fun to watch all year long and to watch these guys sort of grow and develop. And that'll do it. And I want to say thanks, Zach, for coming on and giving us all your sort of take on these top, 8 guys or so, and just sort of, again, sharing your knowledge with us. So really appreciate that. Yeah, no, I
appreciate you having me on, man. It's definitely fun. Anytime, obviously, you can talk QBs. Heck, what's wrong with that? So, no, definitely a lot of fun. It's going to be interesting to see just these guys, the leaps that they take from last year to this year. And because there is quite a bit of pressure on these guys now. We talk about, football and everything so much, and you got Twitter and all these things that they have access to read and see. So a lot of it is knowing how to handle the success. And when people are patting you on the back, it's not always going to go that way. So, I'm really, really interested to see these guys, ton of ability like we talked about, and going to be a lot of fun to watch this season.
No doubt, and we'll definitely have you back on. And again, if you like Zach's quarterback takes, Zach and Steve have a podcast, a quarterback centric podcast called the Big Time Throwcast that you could find on iTunes or on ProFootballFocus.com. So go check that out for sure. And then as far as this show goes, as far as drafts goes with Jordan and Josh, or at least this week, Jordan and Zach, we'll be giving away a subscription to our brand new PFF Elite package, which includes access to our signature stats, award-winning fantasy football analysis and tools, and much more, worth $200, you guys. So enter to win, leave a review in iTunes, and be sure to include your email address or Twitter handle, and you could win this awesome package. For information on these packages of PFF Elite and Edge, go to profootballfocus.com/subscriptions. I'll be back next week to start on some pass rushers. See you, everybody.